The 14th of February in the Western world is Saint Valentine's Day. It is a day full of flowers and chocolates and greeting cards and the color pink and little love hearts everywhere. It's crazy. So what is Valentine's Day? Who is Valentine?
So baby, will you be my Valentine? So baby, will you be my Valentine?
Valentine's Day is often decried for being a really commercial day. People trying to encourage us to spend a lot of money on romance. Hundreds of millions of cards and letters are sent on Valentine's Day, and in the USA alone, over $1 billion is spent on chocolate for this one day. It really is a crazy time. Now, while a lot of people can be annoyed by the marketing that they're surrounded with, the idea of one day being set aside to remember to be romantic isn't necessarily a bad thing. But Valentine's Day can be a confusing time, and many people don't even think about what the origins might be. Because Valentine's Day is a day of love, it, like almost every other holiday on the calendar, is seen by some people as having pagan origins. This is not true. Valentine's Day is not pagan. Now, before you get too triumphalist about that and feel, oh yeah, another one against the pagans, it's not Christian either. Valentine's Day can honestly be best expressed as a secular event that has really been steeped in Western commercialism. It might not even exist technically. This whole thing might be based off of a misunderstanding centuries ago, but we'll get to that more in a moment. Now, there is a Saint Valentine. There are in fact many Saint Valentines, and several Saint Valentines are commemorated on the 14th of February. A saint generally is commemorated by the church on the day that they died, the day they passed into glory. So when we do not know the exact date of a saint's death, we tend to commemorate them with another saint of the same name. So Valentine's Day, February 14th, has several possible people to be the original Saint Valentine. Now, the pagan connection with the 14th of February is to do with an ancient Roman festival called Lupercalia. Now, this took place from the 13th to the 15th of February. This festival, despite having some association with fertility, was not at all a festival of love. It was a festival of violence, drunkenness, sacrifice. It wasn't a pleasant thing. In the middle of one of these festivals, sometime in the 3rd century, a saint named Valentine was killed. The two possible Valentines are Valentine of Terni and Valentine of Rome. The first one was a bishop who was killed for his faith. The second one was a priest who was killed for his faith. We know very little about them because so many Christians during those years were martyred for the faith. The general consensus pushes it a little bit more towards Valentine of Rome. Now, in the Orthodox Church, he isn't even commemorated on the 14th of February, and it's interesting to mention that the modern Roman Catholic calendar doesn't even celebrate Valentine's Day as a big festival on this day. But Valentine of Rome is a saint for whom we have a story. He was arrested and brought before the authorities. Now, much later stories say that he was arrested for either conducting marriages for Christians, which was illegal, or for conducting marriages for soldiers who were forbidden to marry. We don't have those elements of the story too far back. They're more recent. What we do have is that he was brought before the authorities, where he made quite a good impression on them. They thought, this man is very clever. Why are we going to kill him? Just renounce your God. It'll be fine. It'll be easy. And of course he doesn't. And so they condemn him to death. He is thrown into prison, where he meets the blind daughter of the jailer. He prays for her, and she's miraculously healed from her blindness, leading her and her father into the Christian faith. And Valentine is killed on the 14th of February. And this, a couple of centuries later, is listed as being Saint Valentine's Day and the day of several other saints in Rome. But the association with romance and Saint Valentine's Day doesn't happen at all for centuries. And this doesn't happen until the 14th century, in the 1300s, with poetry that connects Valentine's Day with romance. We're not sure who the original poet of this was. There are several poets who might have been the first to do it. The generally believed one is Chaucer, because he's the most famous. And he has a poem that he writes that Valentine's Day is this romantic day when the birds of the air are looking for their mate. There's all sorts of music and singing in the air, and he compares that with romance, and it happens on Valentine's Day. This poem that Chaucer wrote, he actually wrote as a gift for a royal wedding. Now, this royal wedding took place on May the 2nd. This is where the error of Valentine's Day might come about. Some scholars believe it's an error. Valentine of Genoa, another saint from the same century as the other Valentines, is commemorated on May the 3rd. So it is possible entirely that this early mention of Valentine's Day and romance and the birds is supposed to take place in spring, in May, for a completely different Valentine. Either way, this poetry became quite popular, and in the year 1400, a French queen celebrated on Valentine's Day on the 14th of February a big festival of love and romance. This festival is the first recorded instance of Valentine's Day, romance, and the 14th of February all being connected. This is in the year 1400, over 1,000 years since the death of the first Valentine, and over 700 years since Lupercalia, the Roman pagan festival. It is possible that, having read the romantic poetry of Chaucer and others, she thought, oh, we'll celebrate this festival of love on Valentine's Day, looked in a book, found the wrong Valentine's Day, and placed the festival on top of it. This whole event might be a misunderstanding of poetry. In any case, it is from this event that Valentine's Day grows in popularity, in a few places in Europe, not in very many, and later in England, with King Henry VIII making it a public holiday. Later, the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare has a mention of Valentine's Day by Ophelia, and from this play by Shakespeare, we have the idea of people being someone's Valentine on a romantic day, as Valentine's Day. In the 18th century, a version of the life of Saint Valentine of Rome was published that had a few new embellishments to the story. One of them was that after healing the jailer's daughter, Valentine writes her a letter and he signs it "From your Valentine." And from this point in time comes the tradition of writing letters and cards to people we love. And that is the formation of the modern Valentine's Day, is from the greeting card. Not long after, the Industrial Revolution meant the invention of machines that were able to quickly create many cards. And these cards started being posted all over the place, romantic letters, on Valentine's Day, and this was one of the marketing tricks of these companies. Then chocolate companies like Cadbury started getting involved with heart-shaped boxes, and it just basically skyrocketed from there to the point where we are today, which is a highly commercialized, very crazy time of spending money and buying things. Remember that if you want to celebrate Valentine's Day, you aren't forced to buy something. You can just be nice and romantic without spending money. One other Valentine that I'm going to mention is a recent saint, and I'm going to mention him because his icon is often quite incorrectly used in memes around Saint Valentine's Day, and this is Saint Valentine Svincitsky. Now, he is a very recent saint of the 20th century. He was a very prayerful man, a very holy man, and a priest in the Russian Orthodox Church. During the rise of the Soviet era, he spoke out against the Soviet Union, against the corruption that they were bringing into the Orthodox Church, and for this he was thrown into prison. There he suffered and died for the Christian faith. Now, Valentine's Day, as we've seen, is a really crazy time, but there is still a lesson that we can take from it and learn from it, and that is that every single Saint Valentine that I have mentioned in this episode is associated with love. All of them are associated with the love of Christ, and all of them paid the ultimate price for that love. All of them gave their lives to Christ. True love requires sacrifice. So while we're celebrating a day of romantic intentions, let's remember that. Let's remember that true love requires sacrifice. Let's remember that the truest love is the love we have for Christ. And let us grow that, because the more love that we have for God in us, the more love we will have to give to a special someone this Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Today's tea that we are drinking is an Australian blend of sencha green tea with strawberry gum and gulban, which is a type of Australian myrtle tree.